Thank you so much for joining us on World of Art. First of all, let me say Happy New Month. Thank you again for always staying tuned to this program where we bring art directly to you. My name is Miriam Usman. This program is brought to you by Prince Yemisi Shillon, legal practitioner, Africa's largest private art collector, Grand Donor and Chairman of Council Yemisi Shillon Museum of Art, and also the Grand Patron SNA Ogun State Chapter. Today on the program, we bring you two personalities, and together we will explore the world of art from a different dimension, but also in the art industry. We're looking at the art of pottery, and we have two amazing women who will take us through this conversation today. Today we have a ceramist who has taken her time to dwell more of this ceramics, the art of creating so many beautiful things from ceramics, and she does this in the classroom. And also we have a local potter with us who's been doing this for a very long time. Joining me on the program today is Madam Shola Shodamola. Thank you so much for joining us. And we also have Mrs. OLUFUNKE AKANDE. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Please take me through your name again. You are looking at me one-sided. I get a compound name. I don't want to mess with it. So, yeah.
My name is OLUFUNKE AKANDE ADEDEJI.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
All right. I want us to look at the art of pottery, and let's create a basis for our conversation today. I mean, there are different branches of art. Why did you decide to take a step in that aspect? You know, there've just been a lot of conversation around this wonderful art.
Okay.
But you know, one of the things they talk about is it's one aspect of art that feels dirty, because you have to get your hands messed up with a lot, not messed up now. You have to get your hands busy, you know, with a lot of clay words, and some people are not really fitting for that. But you've been into it for the longest, and you've taken your time to nurture, to grow young people into liking this art.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how it started for you.
Well, I got admitted into the University of Technology, Akure, to study industrial design. There were different opportunities, but I was fascinated by all that we had to do with pottery.
Why?
Pottery is unique. It's beautiful. It's relaxing. I just connect with it. I tried all others, and there was something beautiful about it.
You know, right now, people are beginning to see that aspect. I've seen places where couples go there to do some beautiful works like this. Group of friends, they just go there. So when you say it's beautiful, I want to agree with you. But
thank you.
I'll let you continue.
Yeah, I said it. There's a connection between you and the earth. Yes, you know, we are all from the earth. We're all from the soil. Pottery, I like to say, it merges all the powers. Like, there is fire, there is water, there is the land, and there's the air. You need all those unique powers to create ceramics. You use the earth, which is the clay, you work with the water, you dry with the air, and you fire with the fire, and you have something unique that is indestructible. The longest dating that shows how long mankind has been on earth is from ceramics, because it did not spoil, it does not respond to chemical, you can't melt it, you can only break it to smaller particles, but you can't totally destroy it. So it kept a record of activities of man, so you can be expressive. And your basic domestic activities, you're covered. You see, you can have vessels, cups, for every point of domestic activities, there's a part that ceramic does. Do you understand? And its relevance has been from way back until present.
Very beautiful.
And into the future.
Yeah, I like the projection. It's been there before, it's here now, and it will be. So let's talk about the relevance. What has really made pottery relevant in our present day? I mean, we had women like the late Ladi Kwali, who still receives awards till thy kingdom come because of this wonderful art. And let's take Nigeria out of the equation now. Let's talk about other countries, you know, they embrace this art so well that they also have to create a niche, some sort of, for their artwork. And this pottery is one of those things they dwell in, especially for tourism. So let's look at the relevance we have of this art in present And what's the potentials? You talk about it staying till the future and it's still going to be there. So,
you see, the new technology still inculcates use of ceramics. Your mobile phones, the nanotechnology, you're making airplanes, you're making the next technology will continue to use ceramics. Ceramics has unique qualities. It has a good retention for heat. Until the future, we'll be making things that gives off heat, and we want to insulate and keep it together. Now, it's not reactive. It does not conduct electricity. So every time you think about conductors, like your car plug, electrical insulators, you would keep using ceramics. And okay, for, let's say, places like the UK, the US, where they experience snow, there's a need to put attention to the kind of housing they do. They can't use our bricks. So they use something called bricks. These are fired ceramics that helps them to conduct the heat. During the snow, it's easy to have heat loss. So it's expedient to use ceramics to reduce the number of the gas or power you use to heat up the house. That is domestic use. Then our WCs, and just as you keep exploring technology, you will find a place that the best and most accessible material you get is ceramics.
Okay, very beautiful.
Let
me also remind our viewers that joining us in the program today is a local potter who has been into the business since 1992. She does this amazing work in Abeokuta, Ijaye, and we're just going to get more details about this in practical sense. So, on the program today, we're bringing you the theory and we're bringing you the practicals. Yes, Mrs. Funke does this by teaching young people this art of pottery. Well, we also have joining us on the program today, Madam Shola, who's been into this business, like I earlier said, for a very long time. And she will be communicating with us with Yoruba. So yes, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yes. We're talking about pottery and you've been doing it for the longest. How is that like?
Iṣẹ́ ìkòkò mímọ tí a máa ń ṣe ní Ìjàyè. Ó jẹ́ iṣẹ́ tó jẹ́ pé iṣẹ́ ìbílẹ̀, iṣẹ́ ìdílé tó dẹ̀ jẹ́ iṣẹ́ tí ó dáa, tó jẹ́ pé ó jẹ́ iṣẹ́ tí a máa ń ṣe tí àwọn ọmọ tó ń ṣe, tó dẹ̀ jẹ́ iṣẹ́ tí a bá tó jẹ́ iṣẹ́ gidi tí a máa ń ṣe. Ṣùgbọ́n ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn èèyàn wọn ò fẹ́ lọ sí ibi iṣẹ́ yẹn nítorí pé ìjọba wọn ò wo ibẹ̀ yẹn rárá. Wọ́n dẹ̀ jẹ́ iṣẹ́ kan tó jẹ́ pé iṣẹ́ tí ó jẹ́ pé kì í ṣe pé a máa wá iṣẹ́ kiri tá a bá jókòó tì tá a máa ṣe. Ṣùgbọ́n nítorí pé àti kò sí ìrànlọ́wọ́ nípa ẹ̀ kò jẹ́ kí àwọn ọmọdé ìsìn kí wọ́n ní ipa láti pé àwọn fẹ́ ṣe àwọn iṣẹ́ yẹn. Ṣùgbọ́n iṣẹ́ yẹn jẹ́ iṣẹ́ tó dáa ní oríṣiríṣi ọ̀nà, òun ló fi dáa. Kò sí ẹni tí ò ń lo àwọn iṣẹ́ tí a fi amọ̀ ṣe. Amọ̀ dẹ̀ jẹ́ nǹkan àlùmọ́ọ́nì ilẹ̀ tó jẹ́ pé inú ilẹ̀ láti máa ń rí tí kò dẹ̀ gba agbára lọ títí lórí àti ṣe àti rí owó. Ṣùgbọ́n kò sí ìlọsíwájú nítorí pé kò sí ìrànwọ́ láti ọ̀dọ̀ ìjọba láti ṣe fún wa.
All right, Mama, you mentioned that this work is a very beautiful work and you've been doing it for the longest. You have testimonies to show for it. How can you explain better this art of pottery that young people can have passion for it? You've had this passion for it for the longest and it started way when you were younger than this. And we might have some of them watching right now. How much can you talk them into embracing this art of pottery?
Iṣẹ́ yìí èmi náà tó ń ṣe fún ìgbà tipẹ́tipẹ́ tó ti pẹ́ tí mo jẹ́ ọmọdé nídìí ẹ̀ nígbà yẹn kí n tó dàgbà sínú ẹ̀. Ṣùgbọ́n àwọn ewé sí tí wọ́n bá lè ṣe ó jẹ́ iṣẹ́ tó dáa nítorí pé tí èèyàn bá ń ṣe iṣẹ́ amọ̀ ó máa ń rí owó, kò dẹ̀ lè tòṣì, ebi ò dẹ̀ lè pa, kò dẹ̀ lè wá ohun tí kò nídìí káàkiri nídìí iṣẹ́ amọ̀ torí tó bá ṣe ó máa gbélẹ̀, ó máa rí owó níwọ̀nba tiẹ̀. Bó tẹ̀ jẹ́ wípé wọn ì tí ràn wá lọ́wọ́ lórí pé kí wọ́n máa bá wa ká ní ibi tá a máa tà kó jẹ́ ká dẹ̀ ní ibi tí a máa kó lọ fún wọn, ibi tó ti máa wá kó. Ṣùgbọ́n àwa ara wa tá a ṣe ń rà bí àwọn oníwòlíì, àwọn àfáà, àwọn onílẹ̀mọ̀pẹ̀ tí wọ́n ṣì ń wá bá wa rà, a sì ń jẹun díẹ̀, a dẹ̀ sì ń ṣe tọmọlúwàbí nídìí iṣẹ́ yìí. Mo gba àwọn ìwé tó ń bọ̀ lẹ́yìn láti pé kán fojú síṣẹ́ yìí, kán jẹ́ ká máa ṣe, torí pé ọjọ́ ọ̀la iṣẹ́ yìí ó dára.
Since 1992 that you have been doing this trade or this business or this art, have you had to teach young people, either men, boys, girls, women?
Nígbà tí mo ti ń ṣe, mo ti kọ́ àwọn ọmọ tí àwọn náà ń ṣe. Mo dẹ̀ àwọn tó jẹ́ àwọn ọmọ ilé ẹ̀kọ́ tí wọ́n máa ń wá sọ́dọ̀ mi fún excursion, wọ́n máa ń wá lóríṣiríṣi, àwọn ọmọ primary, àwọn ọmọ private, àwọn tó jẹ́ àwọn tó tún wá jẹ́ pé àwọn àgbà níbi iléèwé náà tó máa ń wá fún excursion.
Okay, so for instance, I want to learn this thing, whether as a child, a young person, an older person. How long does it take to learn this art of pottery?
Àwọn tí wọ́n fẹ́ ṣe kò ń ṣe pé ó lè lò wọ́n ní ìgbà rẹpẹtẹ, ṣùgbọ́n ó wà nínú ẹ̀bùn, torí ẹ̀bùn ni iṣẹ́ yẹn jẹ́. Ẹlòmíì ó lè wà níbẹ̀ kó má tètè yé, ṣùgbọ́n ẹlòmíì tó bá ti jẹ́ pé ẹ̀bùn tọ́lọ́ bá ti fún ní ẹ̀bùn yẹn, kò sí iye ìgbà tó máa fi mọ̀ nípa iṣẹ́ yẹn.
All right, like I said on the program today, we're communicating with English and Yoruba, and just so you know, we have on the program today a local potter, and we have a ceramist with us who takes this conversation not just by the art but also to the classroom. And we're just going to ask this question right now. What's the difference between pottery and ceramics? I mean, you've had to mention that, and not a lot of people have still been able to place the difference between these two arts, but yes, there are two different things.
Okay, thank you for your question. Both are used interwovenly, but there is a difference. Okay, the mother name will be pottery. There was pottery
before.
Hey, they are together. Do you understand?
Now you see.
Yes, but there is the scientific and the engineering part of ceramics that we don't have with pottery. We explore different material that goes beyond pottery in ceramics. Do you understand? Now, pottery is still fired clay that is used to make vessels and objects, domestic things, pottery.
This is pottery.
Yeah. This is glazed.
This is glazed.
Yes.
But it's pottery.
You see, in some aspects, you can use the name interchangeably. But on the broader sense, you use ceramics because ceramics give you room to bring in different new ideas that you do not do on the pottery.
What kind of ideas? What kind of thing?
For example, there is material exploration. There are materials, there are things that are done in ceramics that you don't do in pottery. Do you understand? Okay, the basic material that's used in pottery is clay. Clay.
Yes, clay.
Kaolin. Now in ceramics, we have other material like zircon, like zinc, like we use other elements, other materials that are able to do far more than clay can. Do you understand? Clay has, let's say clay has a limited melting temperature. Let's say 1,000, 5, 4, 6, 7. But you have material that will go as high as 1.8, 1i, over 2,000. So when you want to make a refractory are things that conduct heat. So when you want to make a material that is able to conduct heat that is far beyond what clay can do, it is still classified as ceramics material. The name is from, okay, Greek word kerasmos, meaning something that can retain heat, that is fired, do you know, but from a family of the clay. Do you understand? So clay is like the basic material that is used in pottery.
Oh, I don't know, maybe we could just say ceramics is like a modernized aspect of pottery or something, because I know that pottery is common mostly or sometimes with the local people who do it, and then I've not had to see like a lot of local potters explore ceramics, unless for people who have to do beyond the conventional or traditional form of pottery.
You see, pottery is started at different parts of the world at different times. Do you understand? So it all started with using clay, firing it into vessels. But the development vary from different place to place. In China, comparative to Nigeria, do you understand? At a fast stage in Nigeria, when you make pottery, we use smoke effect. Do you understand? And we put it in concoction to bring out the color. You know, there are some dark colored pots, there are different colored pots, right? So, now in the UK, in Europe, in China, they already started experimenting with different oxides, the use of glass, the use of ash glaze, the salt glaze. It is not the definite line to say it's in the past or it's in the old. Do you understand? Any bit to classify that, you might miss something.
Right, let's look at the collaboration between traditional potter and
contemporary
potter. Do you think there's some sort of collaboration or relationship between both?
Yes. In all this, we are together. We are both indigenous potters, people trying to make a difference with our art and still create things that can be used by everybody. Do you understand? Now, there are some limitations that contemporary potters experience. Like, most of the materials that we use need to be imported from outside Nigeria, not because we don't have these raw materials in Nigeria, but they are not well processed, they're not processed for our use. For example, if I want to work with flint, I want to make glaze, I'd have to import it. Okay? There are no more clay in the city. All the clay sites that are supposed to be retained as a clay place are used for building. They are built on. Right now, you know, there are no things to caution people to keep and retain things that are relevant for that. So at the end of the day, if, for example, I want to make a pot and I live in Ikeja, I need where to buy clay. I do not have. I would have to travel down to the village, or if I know of a place where they sell clay. Mama, for example, where she lives, her clay is easily accessible. She knows where she digs it and she picks it. Do you understand? Okay, I have the knowledge of how to go away from the traditional design and bring something new and trendy that can be exported. I have an idea of how to sell my craft, you know, exhibition, tourist markets and all that. A collaboration within the two of us will make things work smoothly because she can work in a, you know, I have access to this. When we bond, you know, it can only grow. And if you have the support of the government and other people, you know, it can be used as empowerment for people to learn. And those that are already practicing that field, there's no sales in it, you know. If there's promotion, people will go back to their indigenous craft, and thereby we have the Nigerian tourism growing, we have the cultural heritage, we have sites that are kept, you know, and we have things that can be exported out of Nigeria. Rather than depend on importing from China, importing from the UK, when we have people that can make ceramics, they are not selling and they are not being patronized.
Do you think one of the reasons why it feels like there's not enough patronage is not just the fact that people are not aware of this art in the country, but maybe from the part of the spotters, you know, you need to up your games to ensure that you make some of these things accessible and attractive to the audience?
I don't agree with you.
Okay.
We have collectors from outside Nigeria coming to buy Nigerian products, Nigerian craft, Nigerian pots. We have designs that are more beautiful than they have on display. Do you understand what I'm saying? But let me give you an example. A ceramist want to make, let's say, this vase, and he wants it glazed. Let's say this is a plate now. This is glazed, transparent glaze. Okay, he has the clay, he has processed the clay. You need to wait for somebody that's coming from the UK that brings a kilogram of this clay for, let's say, 40,000 naira. The kilogram can only make, let's say, 20 pieces of this saucer. By the time you finish calculating how much it takes to produce this, the price is higher than those that are imported because the materials that are used, you know, all those exchange has affected the change in dollar and all that. So at the end of the day, most Nigerian potters end up producing things that are more expensive than what is brought in. There is no, okay, for example, you want to use a gas kiln, you need to fire for at least 7 hours. By the time you buy your fuel to power your gen and you fire for 7 hours, you know, calculate the fuel, the clay, and the glaze. You don't break even. And when you don't break even, there's no encouragement to keep producing. When you go hungry, you end up leaving it and looking for the next available thing to feed yourself. Not because you're not passionate, not because you're not good enough, but you have a system that is not working well, so you find a way to make it work.
All right. I mean, you're already talking about the challenges, which was going to be my next question. Okay. But let's look at from this angle. Let's talk about the challenges, the problems you have encountered over the years as a potter. What are those problems you've had to suffer? She's mentioned some, and I know from your end also there are like enormous of them.
Lóòótọ́ ni a máa ń rí ìdojúkọ lórí iṣẹ́ àkọ́kọ́ lórí amọ̀. A máa ń rí ìdojúkọ torí pé amọ̀ mi wà tó jẹ́ pé amọ̀ yẹn ó máa ń ba iṣẹ́ jẹ́ ni. A dẹ̀ lè mọ̀ láì ṣe wípé àkọ́kọ́ lò. Lẹ́yìn yẹn tí ó bá tún di pé a fẹ́ dáná ní ti ìbílẹ̀ tọ̀dọ̀ wa yẹn, ó máa ní agbára gan, nítorí a máa kó igi jọ, a máa wáṣẹ̀ kó iṣẹ́ yẹn lé lórí, a máa làágùn nídìí ẹ̀, a máa ṣe fìṣàn ti pa lórí iṣẹ́ yẹn. Àwọn ìdojúkọ tó tún wà nínú iṣẹ́ yẹn ni pé ìgbà míì a lè ṣe kí gbogbo ẹ̀ kó dáa délẹ̀, ìgbà míì a lè ṣe kí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ kó bàjẹ́ nínú ẹ̀.
Okay, so what do you think are the possible ways they can help solve this solution? I mean, you've mentioned some, yes, and there are some that you know that if governments, people in the society can come through, some of the problems you encounter, like you mentioned, will be reduced.
Tí ní bí mo ṣe sọ ní àkọ́kọ́, tí àwọn ìjọba tí wọ́n bá ran iṣẹ́ yìí lọ́wọ́, tí wọ́n bá wo ibi tí iṣẹ́ yìí wà, a ní ìṣòro tó pọ̀. Ṣùgbọ́n nítorí pé kò sí ìrànlọ́wọ́ kankan lórí iṣẹ́ yìí tó jẹ́ pé òun bá ṣe ṣe náà la máa fà, tó jẹ́ pé àwọn tòkè òkun òun ni àwọn iṣẹ́ tí wọ́n ń ṣòwò múra sí láti rà. Ṣùgbọ́n tọ̀dọ̀ wá ń bí àìṣe ni, kò sí ìrànlọ́wọ́ àti gbé iṣẹ́ yẹn síta wípé bóyá ká lọ tà níbìkan kan polówó iṣẹ́ yẹn ní iṣẹ́ wa débi pé kí àwọn kan máa bá wa rà káwa náà máa kó lọ, kan máa wá kó. Òun ló jẹ́ kí ìṣòro iṣẹ́ wa yẹn kó túbọ̀ ga. Ṣùgbọ́n tí ìrànlọ́wọ́ tó bá yọ, ìlú aláyẹn á dínkù díẹ̀.
All right, thank you so much. That's Mrs. Shola Shudamola, a local potter right here in Abeokuta, and she's take us through the situation of local pottery in the States, and you know, she's pointed some key factors that we need to look at when we talk about pottery as a whole in Nigeria. Of course, we also had Mrs. OLUFUNKE AKANDE ADEDEJI, who is a ceramist and art educator. Thank you so much. I wish we had more time to talk about more challenges and prospects, but this is how far we can go on the program. It's World of Art, where we bring you all of the art discussions and how art affects our everyday lives. My name is Miriam Osman. This program is brought to you by Prince Yemisi Silon, legal practitioner, Africa's largest private art collector, grand donor and chairman of Council Yemisi Silon Museum of Art. I'll see you next week, God's willing. Bye for now.